And a big May Day protest underway in Lower Manhattan. Labor unions are joining forces with immigrant rights groups in Foley Square, calling out the Trump administration. And many of those protesters are now marching, as you see in this live picture from Newscopter 7. And good evening to you. At 6 o'clock, I'm Liz Chow.
And I'm Bill Ritter. We're going to begin tonight with that rally. Members from several major labor groups gathering now in Foley Square. Immigration rights and other groups joining in the rally.
Yeah, this is what it looks like right now from Newscopter 7, where some of the protests are marching. You can see them right there. Eyewitness News reporter Lindsay Tuchman is on the ground for us with the very latest. Lindsay.
Yeah, good evening. It is a very passionate crowd here. And like you guys just mentioned, the protest that began here in Foley Square just about an hour ago, those ralliers have just begun marching uptown towards Madison Square Park. I'll show you, you can see that crowd behind me here, which started as several hundred groups of people that are now slowly making their way uptown for this International Workers' Day. You can also see it from above from Newscopter 7. This started as a rally where traditionally politicians do show up. And indeed, New York Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez just surprised the crowd before they started marching a few minutes ago. And she spoke briefly in favor of policies and programs that benefit labor workers and immigrants. And she also spoke out against billionaires and recent Trump administration policies she says New Yorkers should be fighting against. The ralliers cheering loudly to her remarks on this May Day. A rallying cry for labor workers across the city and across the globe. On this May Day, protesters took to the streets to demand fair treatment for all. In New York, many gathered at Foley Square, steps away from City Hall.
Right now, we're seeing workers across the board attack, be it our federal workers, our brothers and sisters in labor, or immigrant workers. And we're standing here together saying that we're not going to take this fight sitting down. We're standing up and fighting back because all of our communities deserve dignity and respect. Protesters
also marched from Union Square. And while May Day happens every year, this time demonstrators focused their frustration on Trump-era policies, particularly ones impacting immigrants, government employees, and diversity programs.
Protesting against Trump's abuses, you know. He's behaving like a dictator, and that's the worst of all. We're about to lose our democracy, and everyone is just like, especially the Republicans, just standing by doing nothing. So we need to somehow express our voices as the people.
Similar protests continued across New York, as well as other U.S. cities like Chicago, L.A., Phoenix, and San Francisco. And beyond our coasts, people in Japan, Greece, the Philippines, Guatemala, and more also rallied in support of labor workers.
May Day is about solidarity, and when you see workers standing up, and when you see us standing up not just with other workers, but also with immigrant communities and immigrant workers that we see under attack.
And that was Lindsay Tuchman reporting from the ground. We're going to head up to live pictures of Newscopter 7. John Del Giorno is following the crowd, and they are on the move. John.
And we heard Lindsay mention that this crowd was beginning to march northward, and then they got as far as Worth Street and they marched westward. Basically what's happening is this large crowd, and it's hard for me to estimate how many are there, but it's well over 1,000. They're beginning to march around the block. That's Foley Square over there on the right. But take a look here at Broadway. This is the front end of this march. And again, they've started to march southbound on Broadway. Of course, the streets are closed down here. We've seen a police presence, but it's not confrontational at all. The police really serving more just to keep the streets closed and keep everybody safe. These marchers are out in the streets, but they're up on the sidewalk. They are organized and they are peaceful. I'll tell you this much, they are numerous, and there are many streets closed in Lower Manhattan as this march just gets on the move. And we're live over Lower Manhattan. John Del Giorno, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
All right, keep us posted, please, John. Good to see you up there.